Welcome to Star Bios, the podcast where we delve into the fascinating lives of entertainment's most iconic figures. Today, we're going to explore the extraordinary journey of a musical genius who redefined the boundaries of sound and style, Jimi Hendrix. This charismatic virtuoso left an indelible mark on the music world, and his story is one of creativity, experimentation, and tragedy. Born on November 27, 1942, in Seattle, Washington, James Marshall Hendrix was the eldest of 5 children to James Allen Ross Hendrix and Lucille Jeter Hendrix. The city, nestled between the Olympic and Cascade Mountains, was a thriving metropolis with a rich cultural scene, but also a place of stark contrasts, where poverty and racism were rampant. Jimi's early life was marked by turmoil and instability, with his parents' marriage marred by domestic violence and financial struggles. His father, James, a former soldier, struggled to find steady work, while his mother, Lucille, worked tirelessly as a waitress and a maid to make ends meet. Despite these challenges, Jimi's mother, Lucille, encouraged his creative pursuits, nurturing a love for music that would become the cornerstone of his existence. She would often sing to him, her voice soaring with the sweet melodies of gospel and blues, instilling in him a deep appreciation for the power of music to transcend adversity. The sounds of the city, the wail of saxophones from the jazz clubs on Jackson Street, the thump of drums from the rock and roll venues on Yesler Way, also found their way into Jimi's young heart, shaping his musical sensibilities and fueling his imagination. Growing up in a low-income household, Jimi was exposed to a diverse range of musical influences, from blues and jazz to rock and roll. His father introduced him to the sounds of Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and Robert Johnson, while his mother's love for crooners like Frank Sinatra and Bing Crosby added a touch of sophistication to his musical palette. This eclectic mix of genres would later become a hallmark of Jimi's unique sound, as he blended the raw energy of rock with the expressive intensity of blues and the lyrical complexity of jazz. As a child, Jimi was a shy and introverted boy who found solace in drawing and music. He spent hours sketching cartoons and listening to the radio, mesmerized by the sounds of Elvis Presley, Little Richard, and Chuck Berry. The likes of That'll Be the Day and Tutti Frutti would blast from the family's old Philco radio, transporting Jimi to a world of wonder and excitement. His fascination with music was further fueled by his father's old record collection, which included albums by B.B. King, T-Bone Walker, and other blues legends. These vinyl treasures, stacked haphazardly on a wooden crate in the family's small apartment, would become Jimi's gateway to a world of sonic exploration. The historical context of Jimi's early years is crucial in understanding the social and cultural landscape that shaped his character. The 1940s and 1950s were a time of great change and upheaval in America, with the civil rights movement gaining momentum and the emergence of rock and roll as a major force in popular music. Seattle, Jimi's hometown, was a city in transition, with a thriving music scene that included jazz clubs, blues venues, and folk coffeehouses. The likes of Ray Charles, Quincy Jones, and Ernestine Anderson would perform at the city's legendary jazz spots, such as the Black and Tan Club and the Showbox. While the folk revival of the 1950s brought artists like Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie to the city's coffeehouses and concert halls, Jimi's early education took place at the Horace Mann Elementary School, a modest brick building in the heart of Seattle's Central District. He struggled academically, often finding himself lost in daydreams of music and art, but excelled in art and music classes, where his creativity was encouraged and nurtured by teachers like Mrs. Williams, who recognized his talent for drawing and painting. However, Jimi's home life remained tumultuous, with his parents' arguments and separations taking a toll on his emotional well-being. The tension between his parents would often spill over into the streets, with James and Lucille engaging in heated disputes that left Jimi feeling anxious and uncertain. In 1955, at the age of 13, Jimi received his first guitar, an acoustic Supro Ozark, from his father. This gift marked the beginning of an intense period of musical exploration, during which Jimi spent hours practicing and experimenting with different styles and techniques. He devoured music books and instructional manuals, teaching himself to play the guitar, bass, and drums. The sounds of the city, The hum of the city's buses, the chatter of pedestrians on the sidewalk, would blend with the chords and melodies emanating from his guitar, creating a unique sonic landscape that was both deeply personal and universally relatable. As Jimi entered his teenage years, he began to develop a keen interest in science fiction, fantasy, and horror movies, often spending hours watching classic films like The Creature from the Black Lagoon and The Day the Earth Stood Still at the local cinema. The likes of Isaac Asimov, Robert Heinlein, and H.P. Lovecraft would become his literary heroes, their stories of otherworldly realms and cosmic adventures fueling his imagination and inspiring his music. His fascination with science fiction and fantasy would also lead him to explore the world of comic books, where the likes of Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man would become his heroes, embodying the values of courage, justice, and creativity that would shape his artistic vision. Jimi's love for science fiction and fantasy was not just a passing phase, it was a deep-seated fascination that would influence his music and art for years to come. He would often draw inspiration from the likes of Edgar Rice Burroughs and J.R.R. Tolkien, incorporating elements of mythology and fantasy into his songs and artwork. The likes of Purple Haze in 1983, A Merman the First, Should Turn to Be, would become testaments to Jimi's boundless imagination, as he wove together threads of science fiction, fantasy, and social commentary to create a unique sonic tapestry that was both deeply personal and universally relatable. As Jimi's skills on the guitar improved, he began to explore the vibrant local music scene in Seattle, attending concerts and jam sessions at iconic venues like the Black and Tan Club, a hub for African-American musicians, and the Showbox, a popular spot for rock and roll acts. It was during this time that he met other aspiring musicians, including Randy California and Larry Lee, with whom he would later form the band Gypsy Sun Experience. The three musicians would often gather in cramped, smoke-filled rooms, their instruments at the ready, as they exchanged ideas and experimented with new sounds. In 1959, Jimi dropped out of high school to pursue a career in music, much to the dismay of his father, James Allen Ross Hendrix, who had hoped he would attend college and follow a more traditional path. The tension between Jimi and his father was palpable, as the young musician struggled to balance his passion for music with the expectations of his family. Despite the challenges, Jimi remained resolute, driven by an insatiable desire to create and express himself through music. Jimi's early musical influences were diverse and far-reaching, ranging from the blues legends he had discovered in his father's record collection to the rock and roll pioneers he had seen perform live at the Paramount Theater. He spent hours listening to records, studying the playing styles of his idols, and practicing tirelessly to develop his own unique sound. The sounds of Robert Johnson, T-Bone Walker, and B.B. King seeped into his consciousness as he sought to distill the essence of the blues into his own music. In 1961, Jimi enlisted in the U.S. Army, where he was stationed at Fort Ord in California, a move that would prove to be a pivotal moment in his life. During his time in the service, Jimi continued to play music, forming a band called the Caswells with fellow soldier Billy Cox. The two musicians would often perform at local bars and clubs, their music a welcome respite from the rigors of military life. It was during this period that Jimi began to develop his signature sound, which blended elements of blues, rock, and psychedelia. The experience of being in the Army also had a profound impact on Jimi's worldview, as he witnessed firsthand the injustices and inequalities of the time. After being discharged from the Army in 1962, Jimi moved to Clarksville, Tennessee, where he began to make a name for himself as a guitarist and singer. He played with various bands, including the Supremes and the Isley Brothers, and eventually landed a spot as the lead guitarist for Little Richard's backing band, the Upsetters. It was during this time that Jimi developed his stage presence, honing his skills as a performer and learning how to connect with audiences. The frenetic energy of Little Richard's live shows rubbed off on Jimi as he began to incorporate elements of theater and spectacle into his own performances. In 1964, Jimi moved to New York City, where he became a regular fixture on the city's vibrant music scene. He played at iconic venues like the Café Wa and the Bitter End, sharing the stage with other up-and-coming musicians like Bob Dylan and Joan Baez. The city was a hotbed of creativity, With artists from all disciplines converging to experiment and innovate, Jimi thrived in this environment, soaking up the influences of jazz, folk, and rock, as he continued to push the boundaries of his music. It was during this time that Jimi met Chas Chandler, the bassist for The Animals, who would later become his manager and producer. Chandler was instrumental in helping Jimi secure a record deal, and his guidance played a significant role in shaping the young musician's career. In September 1966, Chandler convinced Jimi to move to London, where he formed the Jimi Hendrix Experience with drummer Mitch Mitchell and bassist Noel Redding. The band's unique sound, which combined elements of rock, blues, and psychedelia, quickly gained them a following in the UK. Their debut single, Hey Joe, was released in December 1966 and became a hit, reaching the top 10 on the UK singles chart. The song's success was a testament to Jimi's innovative approach to music, as he blended traditional blues with modern psychedelic elements. Over the next few years, Jimi and the Experience released a string of innovative and influential albums, including Are You Experienced and Axis, Bold as Love. These records featured some of Jimi's most iconic songs, including Purple Haze, Foxy Lady, and Red House. The band's live performances were also legendary, with Jimi's virtuosic guitar playing and charismatic stage presence earning them a reputation as one of the most exciting and unpredictable acts in rock music. The Experience's shows were a sensory overload, with Jimi's music serving as a catalyst for social commentary and cultural critique. As the band toured the world, they left a trail of broken guitars, shattered amps, and awestruck audiences in their wake. As Jimi's star continued to rise, he found himself at the forefront of a cultural revolution, his music reflecting the turmoil and upheaval of the times. The Summer of Love was in full swing, with young people from all over the world converging on San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury neighborhood to celebrate peace, love, and music. Jimi's music was the perfect soundtrack for this moment, as he sang about freedom, creativity, and the power of the human spirit. In a 1967 interview with Rolling Stone, Jimi spoke about his approach to music, saying, "I don't want to be a clown. I want to be a musician. I want to make people feel something, you know?" This statement encapsulated Jimi's artistic philosophy, as he sought to create music that was both deeply personal and universally relatable. As the years passed, Jimi's legacy would only continue to grow, his music remaining a powerful symbol of creativity, rebellion, and the transformative power of art. As Jimi Hendrix's fame continued to soar in the late 1960s, he found himself increasingly entangled in a complex web of creative experimentation, personal turmoil, and professional pressures. The Experience's third studio album, Electric Ladyland, released in 1968, was a groundbreaking double LP that showcased Jimi's innovative production techniques and boundary-pushing songwriting. The album featured classics like the epic Voodoo Child Slight Return, with its mesmerizing guitar solos and poetic lyrics, and All Along the Watchtower, a Bob Dylan cover that would become one of Jimi's signature tracks. The recording process for Electric Ladyland was marked by intense creativity and experimentation. Jimi spent countless hours in the studio, pushing the limits of what was possible with sound and music. He employed innovative techniques like reverse tape loops, feedback, and distortion to create a unique sonic landscape that was both psychedelic and accessible. The album's production was also notable for its use of orchestral instruments such as strings and horns, which added a new layer of depth and complexity to Jimi's music. In 1969, Jimi performed at the iconic Woodstock Music and Art Fair, delivering a legendary set that included his psychedelic rendition of The Star-Spangled Banner. This performance cemented Jimi's status as a cultural icon and a master of improvisational rock music. As he took the stage, Jimi was surrounded by a sea of peaceful protesters, hippies, and music lovers, all united in their quest for social change and musical expression. The air was thick with anticipation, and Jimi's performance did not disappoint. His rendition of The Star-Spangled Banner was a poignant commentary on the state of American society, with its haunting guitar melodies and feedback-drenched solos. However, behind the scenes, Jimi was struggling with the pressures of fame, creative burnout, and personal relationships. He was constantly touring and performing, leaving him little time to focus on his own music and well-being. The tensions within the experience were also beginning to simmer, as Jimmy's bandmates, Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, grew frustrated with his increasing dominance over the group's sound and direction. In 1970, Jimi began working on a new studio album, First Rays of the New Rising Sun, which would eventually be released posthumously. He also formed a new band of Gypsies, with bassist Billy Cox and drummer Buddy Miles. This lineup allowed Jimi to explore funk and R&B influences, resulting in a unique sound that was both experimental and accessible. The Band of Gypsies' music was marked by its emphasis on rhythm and groove, with Jimi's guitar playing taking on a more subtle, nuanced quality. Tragically, Jimi's life was cut short on September 18, 1970, when he died in London from asphyxia due to aspiration of vomit while he was unconscious. The circumstances surrounding his death remain somewhat murky, but it is widely acknowledged that a combination of prescription medications, alcohol, and exhaustion contributed to the tragic outcome. Jimi's death sent shockwaves through the music world, with fans and fellow musicians alike mourning the loss of a true innovator and visionary. In the years following Jimi's passing, his legacy has only continued to grow. He was posthumously inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 1992, and his music has been recognized with numerous awards, including multiple Grammy Awards. As Eric Clapton once said, "Jimi Hendrix was a miracle, and I feel grateful to have witnessed him." Other artists, such as Stevie Ray Vaughan and Eddie Van Halen, have also cited Jimi as a major influence on their own music. Today, Jimi Hendrix is remembered as a visionary artist who expanded the possibilities of rock music and left an indelible mark on popular culture. His innovative approach to guitar playing, songwriting, and production has inspired generations of musicians, from classic rockers to contemporary experimentalists. Jimi's music continues to be celebrated for its emotional intensity, technical virtuosity, and spiritual depth. He embodied a spirit of creative rebellion and experimentation that continues to inspire artists, activists, and free thinkers around the world. As Jimi himself once said, "Music is a spiritual thing, and if you're not spiritual, then you're not really making music." This quote captures the essence of Jimi's approach to art and life, which was characterized by a deep sense of curiosity, experimentation, and innovation. Jimi's influence can be seen in many areas of popular culture, from fashion to film. His iconic style, which blended elements of psychedelia, funk, and rock, has been emulated by countless musicians and artists. His music has also been featured in numerous films, television shows, and commercials, introducing his sound to new generations of fans. In conclusion, Jimi Hendrix's life was a testament to the transformative power of art and creativity. His legacy serves as a reminder that true innovation often requires taking risks, challenging conventions, and pushing the boundaries of what is possible. His friends, family, and fellow musicians remember him as a kind, gentle soul with a quick wit and a passion for life. Despite his struggles with fame and personal demons, Jimi remained committed to his art, always striving to create something new, innovative, and meaningful. His story serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of creativity, experimentation, and innovation, and the enduring impact that one person can have on the world. Thanks for joining me on this journey through Jimi Hendrix's life and legacy. If you'd like to learn more about his music, check out some of his classic albums, such as Are You Experienced? Or Electric Ladyland. You can also explore the many documentaries, books, and films that have been made about his life and career. That's all for today's Star Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm Casey Gold reminding you to keep shooting for the stars.